In Hungary, the government is seizing the private retirement funds of its citizens. If they won't give it up, they'll be robbed of their state-funded pensions. But we'll still have to pay the pension fund itself. Could that happen here if we don't get our own government spending under control? To our freedom fighters, Fox Business Network's Ashley Webster, radio talk show host, and my good buddy Nancy Skinner, and assistant professor of economics at Loyola University in New Orleans, Dan D'Amico. Dan, to you first. Are you worried that this confiscation, which we learned recently is happening in Hungary, in Poland, in Ireland, in France, could happen here in America?
Well, I think when these confiscations happen all at once, it's blatantly coercive, but it's not fundamentally different from what happens every tax year. If you're young, make over $65,000 a year, don't own a home, and don't have dependents, the government tells you that you have to invest in these private 401ks. You have to invest in maxing out your IRA. Otherwise, they're going to take your money from you. And the result is that you don't get to invest in your own ideas or your own creative potential.
Nancy, I know you love to stir the pot between Republicans and Democrats, and I think I know where you are on this one. But some of your fellow Democrats have actually been talking about the ability of the government to raid 401ks. What think thou about that?
I think it will never happen. There would be riots in the streets in America. We have a whole different system of private property. You know, but there is one significant note here, though.
I got to stop you, Nancy. Nancy, am I confusing you? Am I confusing you with Professor D'Amico? Are you suddenly becoming the Ayn Rand of the radio airwaves, defending private property from government seizures?
I always have. I'm a good capitalist, Judge, and I always have. And I'll tell you what, though, during the auto bailout, the auto workers were the only ones who were really forced to take a haircut. And they did change provisions of their pension, Viva, the health care fund. They did go back retroactively. But no, that will never happen in America.
Okay.
The only way to cut spending in America is to cut corporate tax breaks for mature industries like oil and gas.
Right, well, we'll stay away from oil for a minute because we're talking about the government.
The estate tax.
Got it. Ashley, are you, as a person born in Great Britain, who lives in the United States, who watches this stuff like we all do for a living, surprised at France, Hungary, Poland, and Ireland?
I'm really not. And, you asked the question, could it happen here? It shouldn't happen anywhere. It's outrageous. You've got governments, the Irish government, taking the state pension funds and bailing out the banks with it. France borrowing from future pensions to pay the shortfall for the pensions right now. You live a system like this where it's just based on these social programs and you overspend. There's only one thing that can happen. It's outrageous. And Nancy's right. There would be rioting in the streets here if they even thought about it.
Why aren't there rioting in the streets in Europe? Why are they accepting that? I mean, in Poland, a country basically devoted to Judeo-Christian principles of right and wrong.
Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not steal. The government actually says, give us your state pension or you can't have your private pension.
I think
you have to choose between both, even though you have contributed to both. You own that money.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I think you look at countries like Poland and Hungary, these Eastern European countries who have just gotten their freedom. They're still a little downtrodden. But if this was proposed in England, I guarantee you, look what the students just did recently when they raised tuition fees, try to burn down Trafalgar Square. I think you'd see that in France and Britain.
All right, Professor D'Amico, don't the Europeans understand that at some point this will have to stop? At some point they'll have to pay it back, that you can only steal from people for so long before there are riots in the streets or before you can't pay the bills back?
Well, I think a large reason why we're seeing this happening in these European countries is because they have a larger role of organized labor in those countries and a larger role of productive sectors, manual labor occupations. So pension programs have a lot more political traction there than they do in the United States.
Would the labor unions actually riot in the streets, Nancy, if the government tried to take from their pension funds, just outright take it, like in Hungary?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, because it's a contract that's made. When you work hard in a factory for 40 years, and you are promised a pension, and then that's gone, what do you do when you're 70 or 80 years old? If someone takes your money, that would be like eminent domain. There would have to be some constitutional principle that allowed that, and we don't have that. So, yes, you probably would see rioting in the streets. Old people rioting.
Got it. Nancy Skinner, Dan D'Amico, Ashley Webster, hang on during the break. Why does the president's new food safety bill, why would it leave a bad taste in your mouth? Our freedom fighters are on that one next, and they won't agree on this.